Mass Effect 4 is approaching ever closer, and we've now got some new info revealed in the form of teasers by BioWare staff and voice actors, as well as I'll also be talking about all the new staff coming to the Mass Effect series working on the next installment and their involvement.
Lockhart QT.
The next Mass Effect is still being produced by EA and BioWare, and with the new game now in full production, we've got loads of returning and new staff working on the game. And of course, with a BioWare blog post back all the way in February 2022, we got the following statement. And of course, we're also looking into the next Mass Effect. The team, led by Michael Gamble, is made up of a team of veteran developers as well as some new really talented people. They are all actively prototyping new ideas and experiences. AAA next-gen games take a long time to make, and we know our fans may want them sooner, but our number one priority needs to be quality, and that simply takes time to get it right. As stated there, Mike Gamble is the project lead, and during the N7 Day 2022 blog post, he had this quote alongside his involvement with the game. "I'm lucky to lead the team creating the next Mass Effect game," plus a lot more on how excited he was to lead the next game. Mike Gamble was also the producer on Andromeda, Anthem, as well as the Legendary Edition. So in terms of Mass Effect, he's actually got a bit of a mixed resume there, but personally I loved the Legendary Edition and I actually really liked Andromeda, so we'll have to see how he turns out. Next up we have Danielle Enns, I'm really sorry, I don't know if that's pronounced Enns or Ennis, who will be working as the Senior Development Director working directly with the production teams. Nextly we have Mary DeMarle, Senior Narrative Director. She's also well known for working on the Guardians of the Galaxy game that recently came out, I think it was released in 2021, which actually won Best Narrative at the Game Awards that year, so I'm definitely excited to see what she can do with a Mass Effect story, because for me and many other people, the biggest thing for Mass Effect is the storytelling, and I can't wait to see what BioWare do next. As for more returning employees and developers working on the game, back in 2020 during the time around the release of the teaser trailer, we had confirmation of both new and returning employees who will be working on the next Mass Effect game. Since Andromeda and Anthem, BioWare should realise that a lot of fans are worried about the future of the series and the next game, so BioWare at the time wanted to make sure that we knew some familiar names were returning, as well as big sort of brand new names to the Mass Effect series with really good resumes such as Mary, as said earlier. Firstly, we have a returning employee called Dusty Everman, who is one of the key people responsible for bringing the original Normandy to life, so we could be seeing the return of the Normandy perhaps, or we could be seeing a new ship entirely. On the poster of course we have the SFX, which is a brand new ship, as well as the Mud Skipper, which seems to be a sort of planet to ship shuttle that we could be taking to and from, that we also could be fully explorable, and it could be a hub where you can talk to your companions. We'll have to wait and see. Then we have Parish Lay, who was the cinematic director for the original trilogy, who is returning, and his statement post on the N7 Day blog post in 2022 said the following: "I work with our talented team to deliver the game's emotional, narrative and tonal elements, ensuring that the next big chapter in the Mass Effect saga stays true to this franchise roots. I feel incredibly privileged to be able to carry this biotic torch forward." So I'm not going to lie, that statement has me really excited, as I said earlier, I think BioWare really need a return to form with this next Mass Effect, because obviously Andromeda really wasn't what people wanted, and obviously Anthem was an absolute train wreck in terms of development, and obviously it got cancelled later on. They didn't even do the 2.0, so I'm just really hoping that BioWare get this next game right, and it sounds like if they're bringing back returning employees, I just can't wait to see what they'll do. Speaking of which, another returning employee is Brennan Holmes, who worked on the gameplay systems from the original trilogy. So could this be a possible hint to the fact that we won't have sort of an open world approach, a more open approach as we saw in Andromeda, but will we see a more linear corridor shooter based focus such as the original trilogy? We also have Derek Watts, who is the art director on the original trilogy of Mass Effect games as well. And we also have some exciting news that a fellow content creator called Michael Tucker, this was announced ages ago back in 2021, will be working on the next Mass Effect game. This is also great news as going forward for Mass Effect 4, as hopefully we could have a return to the standard of art, gameplay and storytelling that we really need. I think if they can bring it to the same level as the original trilogy, we'll be laughing. Lastly, I'd also like to talk about the voice actors working on the next game, because although they're not developers, they'd still have an important role to play in the next Mass Effect game. So far, we 100% know that Ali Hillis will be returning to voice Liara Tassoni, as seen in the N7 Day transmission as well as the reveal trailer, as currently she's the only confirmed returning character. But we could speculate for other characters and voice actors. Firstly, we have DC Douglas, who voiced Legion, who has tweeted a few times sort of teasing a possible return to the Mass Effect series in some way, shape or form, as other developers have actually tweeted posts regarding the next Mass Effect game, and he's either liked them or commented directly with sort of cryptic teasers and little jabs and things like that. If you don't know who he is, well, he basically voiced Legion in the original trilogy as well as many of the Geth. And with the Geth teased as returning in both the N7 Day poster from 2021 with the crater that looks like a Geth, as well as the transmission from 2022, we could safely bet on his return hopefully. Next up, if Commander Shepard returns for the next Mass Effect game, then we have to get both Jennifer Hale as well as Mark Meer to return. I honestly can't see any other two people voicing Commander Shepard. I mean, if they want to do the approach of you get to choose Commander Shepard's voice, for me it won't be the same. I think it has to be Jennifer Hale, it has to be Mark Meer, depending on obviously if it's female or male. Now, back in 22, Jennifer Hale did actually comment on possibly returning as Commander Shepard and said the following.
That is up to you guys. Let BioWare know what you want. Let them know, because I would love it and I think Mark would too.
As for Mark Meer, I actually couldn't really find too much, so if you guys know of any interviews or posts or anything like that, I'll be more than happy to do a separate video on it, so please put in the comments below if you find anything else. I really couldn't find anything specifically on Mark, where he's just sort of said, oh yeah, I've heard they're making a new game, that sort of thing. I haven't heard him any more teasers, I guess. But it makes me really happy to hear both of them would be happy to return for the next game. I mean, I love Jennifer Hale and Mark Meer. To be honest, I loved loads of the voice actors for Mass Effect. I'm really hoping a load of them return, to be honest, in terms of the old trilogy, and some from Andromeda as well, because why not? But we need to remember we cannot pressure BioWare, as in my opinion, as beloved as Commander Shepard and other characters are, we have to consider why they're bringing them back. But for me, it would need to feel meaningful and it would need to have purpose for Commander Shepard and other characters to return for the next game. I really don't want it to feel forced or shoehorned in, because as I said earlier, BioWare are in a really precarious situation where obviously Andromeda and Anthem failed, and then obviously the next Dragon Age still isn't out yet, so we don't have a sort of beat on that just yet. But if that fails as well, BioWare are going to be in really hot water. So for me, the next Dragon Age as well as Mass Effect need to be returned to forms, and as I said, I don't want them to be rushed in terms of gameplay and quality. Also in terms of the story, I don't want another sort of mediocre story that we got in Andromeda. I want a story that makes me cry, that makes me feel for these characters, that makes me feel really attached to them like we did in the original trilogy. And I'm really hoping if Commander Shepard and other characters return, we actually get a proper purpose for them rather than just, oh, Commander Shepard's returned. Anyway guys, what do you think about the next Mass Effect game? Are you excited for all the teasers we're getting, and are you excited about the talent that BioWare is pulling in from new sources such as Mary DeHale, as well as all the returning staff such as Paris Lay and etc. Because I feel like if they are pulling in returning staff, they are really looking forward to a return to form, hopefully at least, because I feel like if they can get Mass Effect back to the standards of the original trilogy, then it'll be really, really good. But tell me in the comments, are you excited? And do you think Commander Shepard will return? And do you think they'll be voiced by Jennifer Hale and Mark Meer? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and for more Mass Effect content, stay glued to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.